I'd like first to introduce Tasha. She's our next speaker. Tasha Ina Church is founder of Ellie Live Action. She's a best-selling author and a highly experienced empowerment self-defense instructor. She's adapting trauma-informed somatic training into a sustainable online business model. And with 25 years of experience, her work bridges traditional violence prevention with modern, accessible, and high-impact digital platforms. Remember, you can always read more about the profile of our speakers on our event website, esdeurope.org. And the presentation that Tasha has prepared for us today is From Mat to Monitor, Building a Sustainable Online ESD Business. Thank you very much, Tasha, and the floor is yours.
Aloha, folks. Nice to see you. See so many people from all over the place. So first thing, while I'm getting my presentation ready, I would love if you can share your organizations and or businesses in the chat. I want to get to know all of you a little bit more. I'd also love to hear one thing outside of ESD that you are passionate about. So if you could do that, that would be amazing. Independent, yeah. ESD for Crime Victim Services. Wow. Unbreakable self-defense. Love that. Tim. What is the translation for that, Sunny? Can you put it in the chat? Mona, Lion Martial Arts. Just love women in movement. Love that. That's beautiful. Yeah. So, I have this Mat to Monitor presentation and I will be going through it. There's lots of different slides, but also part of this process is for me to support you in your journey of doing your work and getting it out there to the masses. Like Gentiana had said, I've been doing this for over 25 years now, and I really love what I do. Very passionate about it, and it just lights me up. And so I think that it's important to not only look at what lights you up in your life, but what you're passionate about, and see how you can either do that outside of work on a consistent basis or be doing it for work if you can. Ooh, that's awesome. Very cool, Ira. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, so appreciate the share. Yeah, so building a sustainable online empowerment self-defense business. This was an interesting conversation. I actually had my first online course in 2018. And so that was before ESD Global had their self-defense training in 2019. And I went there and I remember saying, you should turn this into an online course. And they were like, there's not an audience for that. Nobody wants that. And then the pandemic happened and voila, all these different options. Who knew? And so, why this matters, most ESD professionals are underpaid. They're burnt out. Like Sunny was saying, she had gone through a burnout phase, and geography limits the impact. And so you can support your community, but what if your community was the world and a broader audience of all these people who were like your community and needed your support and your skills, but they don't live in a location that provides what you offer? And so the whole point of why I got really passionate about doing my business online and providing not only services, but products online is because people learn differently. And not everybody is going to want to walk into a martial arts school. Not everybody is going to get passionate or as fired up as a lot of the people in this room about martial arts or self-defense, but they need the skills that all of you have to offer. And also the only way to do that is so that you can create a sustainable model. And like Sunny had said in the last session, it's really important to advocate for yourself. I wouldn't say ask for what you're worth, because your worth is limitless. So asking for what you believe that you deserve at this time. And always raising the bar, because the fact is that you can say a price and that organization might not have it, and you can work with them. So being able to put that out there, and it might be a stretch for them, but when there's a stretch, they're invested. Oftentimes what I've experienced is when it is free and freely given, people are late. Sometimes they don't show up. There's a lot of, I don't see that they value it as much as when they are investing something. And so being able to do that, I've, worked with different people, and maybe it's not necessarily that they have the money to give you, but they want to do some sort of exchange. That's all on you as to what makes sense to you. But continually giving your services for free, that's not a business, and it's not sustainable. And you can do that and do your full-time job, but then a lot of times we become resentful if we are constantly giving. Think about relationships or partnerships that we're in or have been in the past, where you are in a relationship where you're constantly giving to someone and you're not receiving anything. And maybe the receive might be like joy, I helped that person, great. But at the end of the day, it's nice to have an even flow. So just kind of looking at that from a sustainable business model. So most empowerment self-defense professionals, they pour their heart into their work. You all have these amazing stories to share of survival, of friends passing and you getting fired up, of family members dealing with attacks or assaults and wanting to change the game. And so how can you do that in a strategic way that makes a massive impact? I do remember in 2019 when I did go to the ESD Global and I met Gentiana and a bunch of other really amazing women there. I just kept on sitting there and I was looking around and I saw all of these, people from all over the world. And I just thought, I want a global impact. I want that. And how can I get that? I'm not going to become this other person who has, X years of experience. I got to do it my way. So what does that even look like? And, at the time, and still, I live on Maui. I live on an island. It's a rock in the middle of the ocean. It's a very pretty rock, but so there's a cap though on how many people that I can reach on that island. And so I decided to put together videos. And I just remember this coming to Jesus moment. And I'm guessing that a lot of you who have really just done everything you can and you're coming up against a brick wall when it comes to your business and having it be sustainable, or your organization having it be sustainable. I remember I would have these workshops and trainings, and down the street there was a male jiu-jitsu instructor, and he saw that I was doing these trainings, and I was charging people, and so he was like, free self-defense. And it was just awful because basically all of these women would go and they'd have these challenging experiences and then they'd come see me. And so I kept on asking the universe, like, am I supposed to be doing this work? Because sometimes I will have 20 people and other times I will have 0. And it makes me want to cry and rip out my hair at the same time, equally. And so I asked that one day just before a workshop, and I had marketed and I had flyered and I had done all the things. And I had one woman come in, just one. And I looked at her and I said, I am so sorry that you are the only person here. I'm more than happy to give you the training, but it would just be you and me. And her response was, my God, I get a private session with you. This is amazing. And she ended up sharing this story about how she had been assaulted at knife point 20 years before on her college campus. And so I spent that hour going through, what could we do? We went and reenacted it and went through all of the different possibilities of things. We talked about body language. We talked about mindset. We talked about awarenesses and all of these different pieces and using your voice. And at the end of the session, she looked me dead in the eyes and she said, everyone needs to know what you teach. Everyone needs to know it. And so I think about that with the empowerment self-defense community. All of you have these skills, these really amazing skills, and you're passionate about it and you love it and you're doing all the things, but you're not reaching the audiences that you want. And so part of that is going out on a limb. It's doing the crazy, wild thing that nobody thinks you can do or nobody believes is possible. And a lot of times they don't think it's possible because they're not willing to try it. So, how do we expand our impact without sacrificing our values in this work? Just looking into how you can do that, make it sustainable, and really, really just put yourself out there in a way. I don't think that everybody has to be all salesy. I used to work at Nordstrom. I was a top seller in women's suits and special occasion wear. And part of that was because I absolutely loathed sales. I hate sales, which means that part of me hates marketing. But in order for you to get your message out there, you need to figure out a way to market that honors you. And so part of the reason why messages don't resonate with a broader audience is because the way that you are putting yourself out there is not in alignment with your values. So I just kind of want to have everybody put in the chat, what are different ways that you have marketed your business or your organization? And while you're doing that, I'll just say, I have been doing this work for over 25 years. My first program was in 2012 at a school. And before that, I was teaching at a martial arts school, but it was a girls program, and it was amazing. And I was trying to figure out how to reach all these kids. I didn't necessarily know how to do it, but I thought about it, and they were like, well, maybe you can make an announcement at lunch. How am I going to do this? Okay. Well, I said, is your security guard available? And they go, yeah. And so I asked for them to make an announcement in the middle of lunch. And they stopped lunch, and I asked the security guard to take a swing at me. And I did a move on him so fast. And I shared that we're going to do this program. We have an empowerment, self-defense or empowerment-based program. And there's applications available in the office. And we had over 75 kids on the waiting list. And so it was sort of a Hail Mary moment, and just kind of looking at that from what you're doing and how you can make a bold step out there.
We have Tamsin saying that she's been using advertisement via Facebook ads, Google ads, and word of mouth. Daniela is saying that she connected with school principals to teach in schools. And I was sharing a bit as well, using social media, one-to-one meetings with donors or potential partners, women's networking events. This is from Mona, telling to every woman I meet about ESD classes, handling flyers to every woman I see, or to everyone I see. Then Kim says I use a lot of word of mouth. Ira says networking is for her as well, very much used. And yeah, that's what we have for now.
Good, thank you. I appreciate you. And so there's lots of different ways to go about it. When I went to graduate school, I went to school for my master's in global business leadership. It was focused on systems change. And so I'm really big on looking at everything from the top down. And I'm always thinking, who is that person at the very top who has the broadest reach, who can tell the most people? Because I could spend the day handing out flyers to people, and that might not be my audience. I mean, even if I went to a women's march or a rally or whatever, I might reach 100 people. And I want to reach thousands. And you might have a different viewpoint. You might just want to fill your class. But start thinking about those partners. Who are they? What industry has the same exact audience as you? And so I'd love for you to share in the chat, who are those organizations, businesses, or industries that are near you that have your same exact audience that you're looking for, and who would be willing to partner? Because that's a whole other thing. Because sometimes, there's shelters and different places like that they don't necessarily want to teach self-defense because of they believe it's victim blaming. And so then you have to do all these presentations. I had a private school that I ended up doing a program at. I'm probably going to be doing a program again with them this year. But it took 5 years to get into that school. That was with the counselor and I fighting tooth and nail, and the student coordinator fighting tooth and nail for 5 years to explain how if I teach the girls self-defense, they are not going to use it to beat up the boys. And if they do, you have to ask why. Why would they be doing that? And so, I went in front of boards and I ended up going and working on trying to convince them. And so there's lots of different ways of going about it. But I remember after that 5 years of fighting over and over to get this program in and how hard it was. And then in 2022, after the pandemic has started, I had my online course. I was putting it out there, but I realized that course was from 2018. I have a lot more knowledge, a lot more skills. I wanted to reach a broader audience because at the time in Hawaii, the sexual assault, well, it was the call center had a 46% increase in calls. So there was a jump, and just looking at statistical data, there was a jump between 25 to 40% when it came to, assaults in different communities across the world during the pandemic. And so I really wanted to get this message out there. It was really important to me. And part of the reason why I am so passionate is because I am a survivor, and I love working with kids because I survived stalking from someone who, when I was 15, he was 32 years old. So it was just a very gross experience for me. And so part of me doing this work and working with youth is I want to have them have the skills before those situations occur. And it's for some of them who have done the program, it's their favorite thing. They absolutely love it. I love how somebody had mentioned that they go to principals and talk to principals. Principals are a wonderful gateway. What about a superintendent of a district? How can you scale? What about a charter school organization that has multiple charters across different states and countries? So thinking big about the work that you do, because the work that you do is big. It's amazing. And so many people need what you have. And not only do they need what you have, they want to meet somebody like you. So for me, I've done school programs, private sessions. I've done workshops and trainings for organizations and corporations. I got involved with the Girl Scouts of Hawaii and do workshops and have done workshops on different islands, which is amazing. But I didn't want just one troop. One troop is a limited, finite amount of people, and versus me going to the head of the Girl Scouts of Hawaii and having multiple islands that I could reach out to. And who knows what coordinator from other Girl Scouts I could reach. So I'm always thinking of that because I want to be able to support as many people as possible. And then the online course. In that picture, that is Kyle. Kyle is actually very kind. He's like a big teddy bear. He is Tony Robbins' bodyguard. So Tony Robbins, for those of you who don't know, he's a speaker. He's, charismatic. And so I actually met him. He was meditating on a rock where I was hiking. So I was hiking and I happened to be rock climbing down a waterfall, and I had a fanny pack on, and my phone fell out of my fanny pack and fell into the water. And I looked at my partner and I was like, you need to get it. My life is there. So my partner, he was diving in and he looked like a wet cat that was very angry. And my girlfriend said, hey, it would be so nice if someone could help us. And sure enough, when you see this guy, Kyle, over here, ma'am, where did you last see your phone? So I'm pointing over there because it was really deep and I am short and he is tall. So he dove down and got it on the first go. And he came up talking on my phone. My partner never let it down after that. But that was the start. I saw him. My girlfriend saw him, got his phone number. And I was like, I need his phone number. She's like, you got a man like that. I want that one to beat up. That's the whole point. And so I sent him a random text message. I'm like, you don't know me. This sounds creepy, but I would love for you to do a self-defense course with me to help women all across the world. And because right now we need it so much. And he shared with me about an incident that happened to one of the members of his family. and he said that he would help me. And that alone, that experience taught me that you just have to ask, because me looking at him, he was like the perfect specimen for someone to practice on. He's 6'4", over 230 pounds of just all muscle. And so I wanted to utilize him for my course, and me taking a bold step and asking, it happened. So let's see. So we've got this. It says, if you build it, they will come. But the reality is not necessarily so. I did think when I put out my 2018 course that it was just going to go out and everyone would find it and it would be so amazing and wonderful. And how cool am I? And I sold 13, which I think the number is actually significant. If you look at like Gaelic culture, women, elders would gather in the number 13. So part of me looked at that and was like, it's a sign. The other part of me was like, dang it, I need to go back to corporate. So, so yeah, I ended up going through and shooting this online course, and I have my friend Natalie here, who you see, and we decided to dress up like what Sunny had said. I don't wear a gi when I'm teaching, but for me, a little different. A lot of times I'm wearing a dress. I might be wearing high heels. And the reason why I did that, the reason why I share that is the big bang, the moment when I realized that I needed to be creating these self-defense courses and curriculum for women and girls, was because I used to salsa dance. I don't know how many of you love to dance. I love to dance. That, hey, there we go. I got a couple of hands up. So I used to go out dancing. And for a full year, I had gone out dancing, learned and met the community. It was amazing and wonderful. And after a year, there was just one evening, and I normally don't drink, but somebody offered to buy me a beverage, and it was just one. And I said yes, even though I had this weird, funky feeling like, don't do it. And I got roofied, and I was taken from the ballroom that I was at. And he actually took my car because he came with his brother, and he drove it an hour and 45 minutes the opposite direction of my house. And so I was carried into a room, and I had to defend myself, and I could not move. And so I just kept on. I don't know how many of you have seen Kill Bill, but basically I was like, you have to move your big toe. And so I decided that I was going to have this one chance, and I made a stand. And so he left the room. I went and grabbed my keys, and I just waited, and they were held in my hand, and I hit him in the face with the keys, and I ran. And I got in the car and I drove home, and I was talking to my best friend at the time, and she wanted me to call the cops. And I just kept thinking, they're not going to help me. They're going to blame me. I'm wearing 3-inch heels and a dress. They're going to blame me. And I think that so many of us have had that experience where we don't feel comfortable and or safe. And so that's why the work that you're doing is so important, because you are creating an environment where not only women feel safe, or people who come to your classes feel safe to share, but you are giving them the tools so that something like that never happens again. And this is also why I say that the work that you're doing is so needed. And because it's so needed, it needs to be sustainable. Business is not what you know. A business is how people find you, trust, and access what you know, and then they share it with others. And so people will share. There will be a network of people that can share what you do. And I always ask at the end of class, who else do you know who needs what you have to offer? And usually at the end of class, I'm also offering some sort of package that is around for 24 hours that they can sign up for, or they can sign their friends up for, or they can get as a gift for someone. And then that leads to more sustainability if you are doing community workshops or trainings. I do less community workshops and trainings. Mind you, if somebody comes to me and needs my help, I am there. but I am also one person. And so I've just started my training journey of supporting my teachers. So I have a couple of teachers on another island who are working on getting their teaching certification, which is really exciting. But yeah, so just being able to have that impact. And so the reality, great content does not automatically create enrollment. Expertise does not equal visibility. And passion does not replace systems. So creating systems that work. For me, I am consistently putting out a newsletter. I am consistently writing on my blog and sharing it to the masses. I have consistently made network connections in order to have them share my content. Or I have a company that books me for their healing. So on top of me doing the empowerment and the self-defense, I will interweave it with somatic EMDR therapy. So what kind of modalities, just like you doing a martial arts training and having that training background and, modifying and adding in your self-defense, what modalities, what is your occupation outside of this, if you have it, and how can you integrate that in? Instead of just saying this is separate here and then I have this separate life, how can you integrate that in so that it works for you? So just being able to look at that. This, getting back to this person right here, her name's Natalie Rivera, and she's absolutely wonderful. I ended up getting a grant and was able to create this course from that grant. And I was able to support her during the pandemic, and the videographer and photographer. It was really wonderful to be able to do that. But I wanted to reach a larger audience, and I sent out messages to multiple online course creators because I did not know how to market my online course. And so I thought, if I can get an online course creator who has multiple courses on their platform to market my course, then I don't have to do as much work. It's just the initial work of putting yourself out there, which is absolutely terrifying. And I talk to people about being fearless. So fear less. Just take that out of the equation and do it anyway. You fear it, explore it. What is that? And so one organization was the Transformation Academy. And I sent in this message and I said, listen, I have a course, I have a workbook, I have all of these different things. I have curriculum. I just need a shot. And I said, these are the people in my course. And coincidentally, one of them is named Natalie Rivera. The owner of that company was named Natalie Rivera. And so she saw that and she was like, oh my God, it's a sign. And she took a chance on my course and put it out. And I literally face planted on my couch when 2 weeks in, I had reached 78 countries with that course. And this was not because I was this epic marketer. So I want you to kind of take that out of the equation. If you are terrified of marketing and you don't like marketing, find someone who does. You don't have to hire them. You can partner with them. Whether that's them taking a percentage of, every referral, or if they are the ones who are booking you, what does that look like with a collaboration? And having that honest conversation with them, not like this is what we do, take it or leave it. No, having an even flow conversation of what feels good for both of you or what feels good for all of you, depending on who's in the room. Because the fact is that if you are wanting to do this full time, you need to pay your bills. You need to put food on the table. You need to have a roof over your head. And so how can you do that strategically and be able to support yourself in the process? And that is making bold moves and asking for what you need and you believe that you should have at that time. Like I said, the work that you're doing, limitless possibilities. You are worth gold and beyond. But just making sure that you are looking at your bills. So being in a financial position where you look at all of the different finances that you have to pay on a monthly basis, and then making your ask comparable to that and going from there. So that is also how I had to look at my business, because I wanted to give everything for free. I do. I want to make sure that all these people can have what I'm offering, because it's been in my noggin and it's really important stuff. And so that brings us to the trifecta of change, which is impact, visibility, and sustainability. And so making sure that, obviously impact is at the heart of every ESD program, the transformation you create in your students, but impact alone without visibility or sustainability leads to burnout. And how many of you have been burnout? I will raise my hand. I've definitely been there. Yep, Sunny got her hand up. Yep. So we got, Gentiana. We've all been there where we want to pull out our hair, possibly strangle someone. And it's important to be able to have that honest conversation with yourself. Because if you are constantly about the cause, you can be a martyr for the cause and get sick and not be able to help anybody. Or you can charge for what you need. And beyond that, because if you save, there might be months where you're getting less, and you'll be able to continue to do the work that you absolutely love. Visibility ensures the right people find you. So like I said, I was doing a Hail Mary. Let's just put it out there. Who's going to get it? Who's going to take it? And I can't tell you how many times, because a lot of people are like, Tasha, you're so bold. You're so confident. I don't have that. I can't tell you how many times that I have cried, bawled like a baby, probably in the fetal position, where I'm like, oh my God, I am terrified. I cannot do this. And all that is a rally cry to do something bold and brave. And isn't that what empowerment self-defense is all about? Is doing that brave, terrifying thing. And part of that brave, terrifying thing is financial stability as well. Because how many times have you been in a relationship where you don't have the money to be able to leave, or you have a job that you absolutely hate, but it gives you the money that you need, so you stay? What if you did that absolutely terrifying thing and asked organizations, big businesses, corporations, systems, that could be districts, that could be your government, that could be a global organization, for the money that you need in order to do what you love, in order to support the people in your life or your family or whoever that is. So looking at it from a sustainable business model and getting your mission funded. So without it, passion fades, programs disappear, but sustainability alone without impact or visibility becomes a sales machine with no soul. And I know from personal experience, because I used to sell at Nordstrom, and I remember 5 years in, I was in the top 15% in the company, and I was really good at making lots of money. My top sales day, I sold $82,000 worth of clothes, and I was not happy. And I had a girlfriend who I was working with at the time, and she got diagnosed with cancer. And she looked at me and she said, "You're not supposed to be here." And I was offended at first, but she said, "No, you're not supposed to be here. You are amazing. And you are constantly doing this martial arts stuff, and your nose is in a book, in a psychology book. And what are you doing here?" And this happened to be during the recession in the United States. It was 2000. And wouldn't you know that during that time, they had huge layoffs. They had all of these things that they had to let go of, and they gave people options. And I took my option, and I got on unemployment, and I went back to school, and I studied clinical psychology, and I got my degree. And I got in contact with principals, and a principal actually came to me, and he was awesome. His name's Brad Brown, and now he's the head of ESD, Education Services Department. So if you have education services departments in your area, they are ESD. You already have an amazing magical connection. But he wanted this program at his school, and that was the start for me. So just understanding that all of these things, there's gut feeling, you have that, you talk to your students about trusting it. Explore the big option, the really big one that you're kind of scared of. My partner, he surfs and he's brilliant at it. And he goes every single day and it terrifies the crap out of me. And he will go with the really big waves. And he tells me that, Tasha, I know when the wave is that I'm supposed to go. And I said, when is that? Is that magical wave, the one that doesn't have a shark in it, He's like, the sharks aren't interested in you. And let me tell you about the wave. It's the one that you're scared of. And the reason why you're scared, there's a difference between just knowing that you're not going to do it and you're not going to be afraid of it because you're not even going to try it. You're scared of it because you could actually make that wave. And so understanding that and really putting it into practice. So ESD, sustainable businesses and organizations require all three. A stool cannot stand on two legs, neither can an ESD business. So impact without visibility means no one finds you. Visibility without sustainability means burnout. Sustainability without impact means you have lost your purpose. And so part of doing this work is being intentional about it and doing it in a very bold way. So here, let me get to this. So there are many ways to do the work that I do online. I will bring this out here. This is my little exciting project that I just did. Ta-da! So this is the proof for my new graphic novel. And this is a testament to doing things differently. So yeah, so just knowing you don't have to do an online course like I did, or you don't have to do a podcast or a Zoom meeting. You can do products, you can do services. There's lots of different things you can do both in person and online for schools to reach a much broader group. Come on. Hello. That's also Kyle that I put down. So start with one problem. So just looking at one problem and one solution. What are those things that you can actually do? Because a lot of times we're like, I can teach everybody. I can teach all these people. No, focus on one target market, just one, and do that one really well. Say, I'm going to focus on this group, this age, and I want you to think about them as a person. Who is that person that is your perfect person? And look into what are their hobbies? What are the things that they love? What are the things that they enjoy? Who are they connected to? What are the foods that they eat? And start getting connected to those organizations and businesses. Would someone pay for the results that you have? Are you taking data? Can you teach in 60 minutes? And looking at small transformations and having a big return. So before building a 20-hour course, ask yourself if you can do these other things. Kind of rolling on through here, because I also want to be available for questions. But it's trusting the equation, looking at consistency, looking at your credibility, so constantly doing professional development for yourself and being authentically you. That's the thing, is that so many times we just try to do the thing that we think that everybody's going to want. And really what they want is you. So what would that be? So it's marketing without feeling gross. And I can't tell you how many times that I have marketed products where I felt gross. And now I'm doing what I absolutely love. So this PowerPoint, I believe I'll make it available to Gentiana so then other people can actually see it. But I did want to open it up to people for questions because I think that that's important. So yeah, let me just open the floor. Got all of these different, so many slides, me with lots of talking. And yeah, I will say I have had so many missteps and I want you to not be afraid to fail, because the fact is that you're going to fail a million times over. This is my most recent course. These are all of my boys program, and I have a girls program as well. And so just trying things out and not being afraid to try anything and everything. So my final thoughts and message to carry forward, the goal isn't to reach everyone. The goal is to reach the people who need what only you can teach. And so understanding that what you have is so special and it's brilliant and it's important. And so getting that out there and not being afraid, but being fearless. So thank you.
Thank you, Tasha. Thank you very much. Thank you for sharing your journey and your also some tips how to build that work. It is not easy. Some people have a certain anxiety when they are in front of the cameras, but with practice, everything is possible. And with support is also a little bit easier. So thank you. And I would like to invite if somebody has some question, please feel free to ask, be it via chat, be it directly.
Everybody, do you have a train the trainer program where you would train your trainers all virtually, or because that's what I'm kind of struggling with, is wanting to train trainers, my course, but doing it all virtually kind of scares me.
So what I've done, essentially the Trainer of Trainers course is my empowerment self-defense course through Transformation Academy. It's accredited. It's dual accredited actually. And so it's something where I have put it out there to the world and they can do it on their own terms. And that's why it's, reached so many people. But I also encourage them to go and seek out experts and specialists in their local area to do in-person trainings. And so what I would recommend, because I'm thinking that for you, you have a very structured curriculum and I've only seen part of it. I've been lucky enough to team teach with this lady on Maui, and she's amazing. And so for you, what I would say is to have it as a structure where you have your online course. And for those people who are willing to pay more, have the live sessions available to them. And for those people who are willing to also pay more, then you would have the in-person. So you need to be able to go through all of the moves. And one of the things that I did was not only like showing this person attacking you, what does it feel like to do the move without another person there? And a part of me actually, there's Kim Rivers is in the room. I go to, during the pandemic, I went to the Aikido classes, and it was wonderful because her Aikido classes with Mer and Ron, they go through these different moves and what it feels like when there's nobody else there. And so you go through that and it becomes muscle memory. And so if you did that along with getting your strapping young men, she has these really giant boys of hers to go through the moves, I think that would be really amazing to do. And then having those other options and just knowing that not everybody is going to take those other options. So having the basics that they can do and giving them a basic certification for the full online course, and then having the live sessions, which gives you another level. And then the in-person would be some other level. And that's totally whatever you make of it. But then that way it's a little bit more, because, what was hard for me is like, how can I feel good about giving an online certification to someone who I've never met and I'm not going to meet? I don't know. So I always encourage people who are taking that online empowerment self-defense life coaching certification to go in to see someone nearby who is local, who has those skills, and to build their repertoire, whatever that might look like, So that's my recommendation. And thanks for coming.
Thank you. Thank you, Tasha.
Yeah.
As we wait for more questions, I'd like to also continue a little bit with information based on what Tracy was asking. I started with online training for instructors also back during the years of the COVID. And we have been after that, we've developed with Anat a specific program which includes online sessions prior to in-person training, and that is to complete the level 1 instructor training that we have been delivering. Actually, some of the participants here were part of that cohort, and it was in last May where we had the in-person training. And I am also happy to have to keep in contact, Tracy, if you want to know more about how we did it and so on. We're happy to share our experience and be helpful if anyone needs it. Thank you. All right, so there are some comments. You mentioned it, right? about the presentation, that you will be sharing the presentation and we will be sending it to everyone. So so Tasha, thank you. Such a pleasure to learn about the whole experience and the steps that took you to where you are now with the online trainings and the important, like, you've mastered that part, and there are a few programs online, different platforms that you have, and you're also a bestseller. So chapeau for that, and congratulations for your work. And we will be now taking another break of 10 minutes. So please join in 10 minutes from now, and we will continue with Danilo's presentation. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Aloha.